Hey there, Max Wright here from Success Council, and here with Chris Odem. Now, Chris, you're involved in a couple of core businesses in the Bitcoin ecosystem. One is Open Transactions.
Yes.
And the second is Monetas.
Yeah.
Monetas?
Well, Open Transactions is like a open source project, and Monetas is a company, commercial effort, a startup.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about Open Transactions, because I know a lot of people here are very excited about what you're doing at Open Transactions, and it serves to really help the Bitcoin community. So why don't you just catch us up on what you're doing?
Well, on the open source side, we've just been working on it for a long time. It's a financial cryptography library. It has a server, it has a client software, desktop app, command line app, this sort of thing. And it basically enables people to do financial actions securely with cryptographic security, like issue currencies, sign contracts, open accounts, write checks, withdraw cash, trade on markets, any kind of financial action. And you can do it with any currency agnostically, like it could be Bitcoin or gold or whatever, doesn't matter.
Yep.
And then Monetas is a software company startup that I've started with my co-founder Johan, and it's based on the open transactions technology. Right. We're building sort of enterprise scale transaction processing systems.
Okay. Now, I want to come back to Open Transactions, but I think I have another question which might help us get there. And in a recent talk, you just spoke about kind of the 5 problems/challenges in the Bitcoin ecosystem and some things that the community is trying to work towards to solving. Why don't you cover those to start with, and then maybe that'll lead us in the direction of Open Transactions?
Yeah, well, what I said on the panel today was that there are problems in Bitcoin, but not so much in Bitcoin itself. I mean, Bitcoin itself is very pure. It's a beautiful invention, and it creates or provides the ability to have censorship resistance, and it's very effective at that. It's a very effective technology. And the things that are lacking are really just things that are going to have to build up around Bitcoin and on top of Bitcoin over time.
Right.
So I'll give some examples. Bitcoin needs to work on client-side security. Right? Now, you have a private key. That private key is most likely not going to be broken, but someone could hack your phone and get a copy of it. Right? And so you have to not just have a private key, but you have to put it on a smart card. So how many Bitcoin systems have smart cards yet? See, the problem's not Bitcoin itself, it's just that the client software needs to integrate with smart cards.
Right.
And similarly on the server side, right now, Bitcoin itself is extremely secure, but then you give it to the server and say, here, can you hold this for me? And then you're going to trust this guy with your money. And we've seen how that turns out. And it's right. People just, it's not just about Gox, but that's a great recent example. But if you Google for Bitcoin scams and heists, there's this thread with just this giant list of all these ripoffs that all these people got ripped off.
Right.
And the problem isn't Bitcoin itself. The problem is that you trusted some guy to hold your money. Right. And so we want to solve that too. We want to have voting pools on the server side so that you don't have to trust that server. Another problem with Bitcoin.
No, I was just going to count them out. So we had so one was we have private keys and they are secure, but you have the responsibility as the user to keep those private keys secure, and that's challenging, especially for the layperson.
Yep.
Problem number 2 was talking about when we actually store the bitcoins on servers, which we need to do from time to time, like at exchanges and so forth, like that.
Yep.
Number 3, you're about to raise.
So you have client-side security, server-side security. Another one would be off-chain transaction processing. The chain is a great place to do settlement, but you don't really want to do all transactions on the chain. In the long term, what's going to happen is transactions are going to move off chain. So once you can take those coins and safely store them in a voting pool so that the server can't steal them, then you can do a lot of your transactions on the server.
Right.
And so I might put some coins in the pool and then do 1 million transactions off chain, and then pull the coins out of the pool back to my Bitcoin wallet again. So that's 2 on-chain transactions and 1 million off-chain transactions.
Right. And
that's going to make Bitcoin a lot more scalable. Right now, Bitcoin has a scalability problem.
Right.
Another example would be that Bitcoin has an ease-of-use problem. As wonderful as it is at the core protocol, you're not going to ask your grandma to use it. And the reason is because she's going to get frustrated. And, there still has to be, I said on stage, there has to be that Steve Jobs moment where the Steve Jobs walks out and he says, it just works, and there's just like this big red button, and grandma just pushes it, and nothing goes wrong, and her money is safe, and it's easy to use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one in there that was, I think, particularly interesting for Open Transactions was the one where you said that the 1 million offline transactions for the 2 on-block transactions. Sorry.
Right.
off-block transactions versus the on-block transactions.
Yeah.
So to catch people up a little bit on what you're talking about, the Bitcoin payment system, very, very secure, but that's what's called on-block. The blockchain is the invention that Bitcoin sits upon, right? And it is a trustless environment. Everybody can see what's going on. It's open source. You know where your money is, and it's extremely secure. We have a lot of faith in that. However, these off-block transactions, at present, or let's say a few years ago, there's no faith in that you require trust in third parties.
Right.
Now, what Open Transactions is trying to do is trying to make that system work and take as much of the trust as possible out of it.
Right.
Now, you call it a federated system, is that right?
Yeah, federated, because with Satoshi and Bitcoin, what he did was he eliminated trusted servers. And what I tried to do was I didn't want to eliminate servers because there are certain benefits using servers. They're faster, they're cheaper, and so on. But I wanted to eliminate the need to trust those servers.
Right.
And so once you eliminate the need to trust a server, then instead of being an authority over you, he becomes more like just a commodity, cloud commodity. And he's either going to process your transactions or not. And if he doesn't, you use that one instead. You should be able to have a bunch of servers. Sort of like if you download a web page and that web page has images on it, each one of those images might be on a different web server. Right. And it just downloads each one from whatever server is in the URL. It has different URLs, and just this URL has that server, connects there, downloads the image, and so on. So it should be the same way with the financial instrument. If financial instrument has a server ID on it, it's going to use that server. And then my client pulls up a different financial instrument, it has a different server ID, it uses that. It just connects to whatever server is on the instrument.
Okay.
Right? And then you don't have some dependency where you're reliant on one specific server that's like an authority.
Yeah, and which kind of gets us into the concept of voting pools. So can you explain voting pools a little bit, and why does it become a more trusted environment?
Well, Bitcoin supports multi-sig transaction, which means that I can send some coins to 3 people instead of 1. Okay. And now you have to have a 2 out of 3 vote to get the money back out.
Right.
So I send my coins to these 3 exchanges, and then 2 of the exchanges out of the 3 at least have to vote to release those coins back out of the pool. And what that means is no one exchange can steal your money. So if I put my coins, let's say I'm going to use like Mt. Gox, whatever the exchange is, instead of giving it to him directly and then he lets me trade on his market, I put the coins in the pool. Now he still, shows them in my account and I can still trade them on the market, but he can't steal them because he has to get 2 out of 3 of the other servers to vote, to authorize to pull them back out of the pool. And in practice, this will be like 8 out of 10 or something like that,
So the kind of picture I form in my head, tell me if this is correct, is that these pools almost would become like brands. It's like you've got a bunch of entrepreneurs operating a bunch of different exchanges, and now why would I let some other new party come and be part of my pool? Well, I'm going to want to audit them, make sure that they're safe, because they're going to affect my brand of my pool and decrease the trust of the pool.
Right.
So now all of the actors, all the exchanges, for example, are literally policing each other.
Right.
Because if there's one malicious actor in that, they all lose.
They're all auditing each other.
Right.
And in fact, with open transactions, there's another reason for that. It's because in open transactions, it's impossible to forge receipts. So the server can't change your balance. He can't falsify transactions. He can't forge receipts. The only crime left is inflation. Inflation is the only possible crime, and auditing prevents it. And so let's say that you got some servers and one of them wants to pull some money out of the pool. Then if the other servers vote for that to authorize it, if he was really just inflating, then it wasn't his money, right? He ended up taking their money.
Right.
So they have a natural incentive, because if I let you pull some money out and it wasn't really yours, that means you took it from me. So I have a natural incentive to audit you. So what happens is all these servers in the pool are all auditing each other in real time and have an incentive to do so.
So give me imagine the picture of, let's say the top 4 or 5 brand name exchanges get together and create this like voting pool,
right?
And they audit each other and they do this kind of good stuff. As because of that, they get this kind of high quality brand name out there. Why are they then incentivized to let anybody else enter that pool, or are they not? Are they incentivized to make that kind of a closed shop and keep other parties away?
They may or may not be. The market's going to have to determine that. But if they don't let someone in the pool, then some of these, up-and-comers are just going to start their own pool.
Right.
I would assume there are going to be many pools. And then even from the user perspective, a user should not store all his funds in one pool.
Right.
In fact, I don't think a user should store the majority of his funds in any pools. I think the majority of funds should be safely stored on the blockchain itself.
Right.
And then the amount that you put in pools should be the amount that you want to transact with. Maybe you're doing some trading, or you want something in your checking account or whatever, to where you can use it and do transactions with it. But for storage, you don't want to even trust a pool.
Right.
Right? And then the amount that you do put in a pool, even that should be distributed across multiple pools. I don't believe that you can eliminate risk, but I believe that you can distribute it more and more practically.
Right. And getting back to that previous question about kind of a conglomerate getting in position and like keeping out other parties, I mean, that's the same argument as why a big company can't monopolize something and keep everybody out. In practicality, without the government sort of sanctioning that monopoly and keeping competition away, those monopolies never last. So we would expect the same thing to see in voting pools. You would expect a number of voting pools to come in competition and start vying for that brand name awareness.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first predictions I can make is that likely there's going to be some cool darknet cypherpunk voting pool,
right?
That's like anarchism and this kind of thing, and then all these true believers are going to put their money there, and then they're going to disappear and steal their money, and it's going to turn out that it was just the same old shit going on. Don't trust people with your money.
Very important.
Don't trust them.
No.
I mean, you, Max, have you ever, lost money because you trusted someone to hold it before?
Absolutely.
I mean, we all had to learn that lesson at some point in our life.
You get smacked one time, and you think, okay, I won't do that again.
Yeah, two-factor authentication.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, are there any other thoughts you'd like to add with Open Transactions? When is it released yet? When's it going to be released?
Open Transactions software project has actually been publicly available open source since 2010.
Okay.
And it does work. You can download the server, you can download the various clients, it runs, you can use it, it's fully functional. Now on the commercial side, Monetos has not released the commercial enterprise scale version yet. Right. That's going to be sometime later on this year, maybe towards the end of summer or fall, something like that.
Okay, and I just know, like, just going to these Bitcoin conferences, a lot of these businesses and websites, you start asking them about security, and they say, well, we plan on integrating with Open Transactions, and that's going to really help improve our ability to guarantee the funds. Or
you're hearing that a lot.
Yeah, I know I am on websites and so forth. They're mentioning OT as yes, like we're going to use this.
That's our
to
story.
Demonstrate to us. So,
that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yeah, exactly. So
interesting. Yeah, cool.
So definitely. So Chris, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
and we'll see you soon.